And tonight's Technology Insider, the Dig Once policy. It's an idea that could make the internet cheaper and faster, but what is it? For more, we turn to our guest tonight on Capitol Insider. That is Brian Fung. He's a technology reporter for the Washington Post. So Brian, what is the Dig Once policy and how could it help bring about a cheaper, faster internet?
So Dig Once is essentially a policy that says every time you dig up a street for some purpose, whether it's building a building or making repairs to the road, you do a study to figure out whether or not the surrounding area would be benefited by fast internet in the next 10 or 15 years. And if the project that you're working on receives federal funding, then the project would you'd be able to install a pipe basically for internet cables to run through. That would prevent you from having to dig up the streets again the next time an internet provider wants to lay down fiber there.
The Obama administration first showed support for the idea in September, and now a bipartisan measure has been introduced in the House called the Broadband Conduit Deployment Act. How much momentum does this proposal have?
Well, it's already got the support of a number of lawmakers. It's being co-sponsored in the House by Anna Eshoo and Greg Walden, a Democrat and a Republican, respectively. So, this is an idea that, as you said, has gotten, gained some traction. But, this is something that has been proposed a number of times before. The Obama administration, with an executive order, urged the Department of Transportation recently to work with cities and states on Dig Once policies, but so far, according to Eshoo and her co-sponsors, that hasn't made much headway. So what they're doing with this legislation is trying to roll this out as a policy at a national level. So
what are the differences in this particular proposal versus others?
Well, the key difference here is that it's specifically tying federal funding for construction projects to a survey that would be, that would basically assess the need for broadband and high-speed internet in a particular region that surrounds the given construction project. And if the survey finds that there needs to be broadband there, or that the surrounding community would benefit from having broadband, then the Dig Once policy would apply.
So what are the critics saying about this? What are their objections?
Well, potentially it could drive up the costs for construction projects as they seek to conduct these surveys, and it could also slow down some construction projects as installing extra conduits can take time and additional manpower. That said, over the long run, it's important to point out that with the internet becoming such an important economic force, that construction projects might well be benefited, and communities might well be benefited by having access to that extra conduit when cities would otherwise have to dig up the streets yet again, creating additional headaches for the local communities.
Let's switch gears for a moment and move on to politics. Hillary Clinton has brought the issue of net neutrality into the 2016 election, promising to crack down on local monopolies. Bring us up to speed on this. What is Clinton's goal?
Sure. So to back up a bit, Hillary Clinton in an essay last week said that there's not enough broadband competition in the United States. Most consumers only have a choice between one or two providers, and as a result, have to pay sky-high rates for internet service. What Clinton's proposing is essentially taking a stronger stand against large corporate mergers of internet providers and other companies and other industries, saying that doing that would help juice competition in the industry. She also said that she would be in favor of upholding the FCC's rules on net neutrality, rules that say internet providers can't speed up or slow down internet sites for an arbitrary fee. It's important to point out here that Europe is about to vote on net neutrality rules tomorrow, so it'll be very interesting to see, how and whether their rules look a lot like ours.
Net neutrality has been one of the biggest tech topics of the year. It was in 2014, but it didn't make many headlines during the midterm elections. The question is, do you suspect that we're going to see more on this issue in the 2016 election?
Well, you know, I think that over time, the internet and internet-related policies are going to take a bigger role in political fights. You know, as to whether or not we're going to see it actually show up in this one, it remains to be seen. I think, you know, overall, the idea that the internet has become so important to the American economy is gradually getting out there. But you know, as far as any particular instance of you know, any particular political race may be concerned, I think it might still be a little too granular for most voters to grasp.
Brian Fung, technology reporter for The Washington Post. Thanks.
My pleasure.